and a very warm welcome to this episode of Digital Dialogues powered by CXO Digital Buds. The enterprise data landscape has evolved from function based, limited scale data use to sophisticated data driven decision making. And in the last 2 decades, big data has emphasized analytics across various industry verticals. Today's technology leaders confront challenges varying from data silos, observability issues, exponential data growth to data quality. Technology advancements such as distributed data architecture, data mesh, data fabrics, along with AI ML are transforming data management, fostering innovation and driving efficiency. To delve on this topic and understand the impact of this evolution on enterprises, we are joined by Mr. Suvrat Bansal, who is the founder and CEO of Clarista. He has more than 2 decades of experience in pioneering and managing data analytics. A warm welcome, Suvrat.
Thank you, Prateek. Thanks for having me.
So, Suvrat, with this prelude, I'll directly move to my first question, where we understand that you have been involved with various organizations, including Fortune 500. And over your experience of 25 years in leading and innovating data analytics for these firms, as per your observation, what have been the challenges that you observe for enterprises where they are transforming to become a data driven enterprise?
Yeah, Prateek, excellent question. And you hinted at that at the opening. I think in the simplest terms, the growing issue I see is the imbalance between increasing needs for timely information and insights at every level of the organization and the engineering capabilities to deliver them. Gone are the days, as you were saying, when the organization's data and analytics ambitions were limited to daily reports. They are still relevant, right? Don't take me wrong, but it's just the people today have significantly different experience in personal lives, right? So they want real-time answers to their questions when they enter the office premises as much as they're getting it in their personal laptops and mobile devices. They're looking essentially for a ChatGPT experience at work. And at best, what they are still able to get are some standard reports and dashboards. And even there, I think if we really look at even to deliver the same things which organizations were delivering 20 years back, just the scope of that, sometimes people don't understand, what has been happening in the organizations unless you are working for these organizations. Look, 20 years back, maybe a small business division might have deployed 10, 20 systems. When I was at my previous organization, we're talking about thousands, right? The number of systems which were put in place for different operational workloads over last 20 years, and then you add all the what we used to call end user computing, like spreadsheets floating around, some code someone has written. Data is everything, right? The input to all of these applications and processes have been data. So it's clearly becoming much harder even to do the simplest stuff. And then you augment that with the growing ambition, it becomes extremely complicated, right? And even with the significant investments in cloud migration data platforms, we don't see this last mile challenge of delivering real-time insights becoming a reality, right? But look, excellent opening. I think, and this is where a lot of focus will continue to go in on how do we find that balance, because we live in a digital economy. It's not going to stop. We have globalized. We have many more SaaS systems and partners today we work with than previously we did. So the data is no longer contained either, right? It's spread, is distributed to support the global ambitions and the business models we have, and hence something needs to be done.
Sure. Very well articulated, Suvrat. And with that, we have seen that how enterprises have moved from digitization to digitalization and their journey for digital transformation. And with that, we have seen organizations, and if I talk specifically for India also, the technology leaders, be the CTOs or the CDOs, they all are planning and executing their cloud strategies also for this digital transformation. And as you see them progress and evolve in this journey, as per you, what have been the benefits or the technical challenges associated with this transitioning to cloud? Because now cloud has become a very key tenet, which one or the other reason they have to move forward with.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely, Pratik. I think if we look back, right, 20 years back when, Amazon came out early days to, with the into the market to offer cloud capabilities, the reality is that they developed it internally first to achieve the scale and speed at much lower cost than possible with traditional infrastructure. That problem has now become ubiquitous, right? It's not just the scale of Amazon, it's the scale of any organization, which goes back to the heart of what you just said. If you digitize every document and if you digitalize every process, essentially it requires a lot of data. It requires speed and it produces a lot of data. So we live today in an increasingly data-driven business process and organization. And hence, to manage that, you just can't afford to live and continue to work on those local machines we were all used to, right? And that scale today, unfortunately, one of the biggest competitive thing every business has to worry about. And with the economic cycles we have all seen go up and down, that you can't deploy these things with significant cost uptick. Right. So you have to constantly balance like your ambitions with the cost you can incur and see incremental benefits along the journey. And that's an incredibly hard thing to manage, right, for CTOs and CDOs who are really leading this charge. Uh, to really achieve the benefits, look, existing systems, first of all, need to be transformed to work with the distributed systems on cloud, right? The whole idea of distributed architecture, which you hinted at the beginning, it speaks to the reduction of cost in every sense, right? On-demand compute, distributed storage systems, and it needs to be achieved without sacrificing the performance, right? People still are doing high-frequency trading. They're still operating on real-time transactions, cab rides. I mean, everything we live with in a real-time environment today in personal lives has to be replicated on the enterprise side. And that has become increasingly difficult because the architectures and the technologies, while look the same, at the real core of it are different. You can't just cut and paste a software running on your desktop to say, I'll just move to cloud and suddenly I'll achieve a lot of benefits. You have to really think through how that will work in the distributed architecture. That's really the one primary thing. The second thing is
Yes.
that as we went digital, as we went global, and as we went to cloud, look, there are always opportunists who look at it from the other uh, bad opportunities perspective as well, if that's a better way of saying it. Like, think about all the cybersecurity threats now every organization faces. Think about all the data privacy issues. So the data in an enterprise is no longer confined to their privately owned data centers, right? So as you put it to public cloud, the threat of the data getting stolen is the biggest worry for enterprises as they move there. And unfortunately, the technical capabilities required and the training required to operate on cloud technology, create a secured environment and architecture is not easy, right? Having gone through that journey, you have to really understand as a leader how these systems and people will work in a completely new ecosystem to achieve that flexibility and cost reduction. So I think getting all that together has become hard, and I do feel the talent is one of the biggest issue when you try to do all of this on your own, thinking that look, we come from 20 years back, where we'll sit down, develop an app, and here it is, right? Which goes back to thousands of apps issue. But today you just can't do it. I mean, it's fast because you can just log in and the infrastructure is set up for you. But to deploy something at an enterprise, uh, quality, security, robustness, scale, performance, connectivity, usability, I mean, these features are not that easy to deploy on cloud. So and just leaders to first learn about that, then to make the best choices on where to use infrastructure, where to use software, where to build software, how to train people, how whom to engage in the early discussions, right? Because who is the early mover? Of course, the biggest beneficiary should be, but that comes with learning and someone whom you can engage in that journey where the risk can be a bit low in comparison to taking some really high risk initiatives early days on the cloud. I mean, all that needs to be carefully managed.
And very well said, Subrat, because there was one of the study I recall being done by Strategy Inc, where this question was being asked to the CIOs that, when they are listing down the pros and cons for this cloud transition, what are the top things that come to their mind? And There was a polarized view, but it was amazing to see that both cost efficiency and security aspects were something which were there on both the sides of pros and cons. So I believe the ones who were able to assess the utilization of cloud and which operations to move on were able to balance that cost efficiency aspect. Wise, I think cons were those who were unable to segregate and take that judicious call. And cybersecurity, that remains one of the key aspects in the mind of the CIOs.
Absolutely, 100% agree. And I think it has become such a big mental hurdle because, look, I think when a person's job suddenly becomes very dependent on the risk of an untoward event like that happening, a cybersecurity happening, just mentally, it poses a lot of challenge for that person to innovate at a fast speed without getting assurance that the security and the cybersecurity part will be taken care of. And I think it's not that easy to understand how these things work. And we have worked in large organizations doing it. We have worked not just like as an insider driving this, but also as a capability provider enabling clients. We work with the cloud providers, and we know at the very high level, these cloud providers look all the same, like it's Amazon, it's Microsoft. Once you go into the heart of it, everyone has nuances and differences, right? And I think choosing that, which cloud to go with, how do you then understand those components? How do you train your staff to get there? Yeah, it's a long journey, right? I mean, one of the biggest observation I've had shifting from a corporate life to an entrepreneurial life is that things which I used to take a little bit for moving at a much faster speed, I'm realizing you're moving at a much slower speed. And finally, you have to kind of wonder why. And it's not the technology, it's the people, process, and engagement with well understood risk quantification, and then mapping out a journey which can constantly make sure that your risks remain mitigated while you're innovating, has been quite hard for many organizations.
True. And enterprises have been continuously hustling with the evolving technologies, the emerging technologies, because I think they just got settled down with cloud and they were still understanding the nuances when the buzz around AI and GenAI hit them hard. So we've already suddenly entered into the era of AI and the revolution that's happening now. So, how do you anticipate the data architecture and capabilities evolving with all these advancements happening in the enterprise world?
Yeah, this is, it makes me smile, Pratik, because you're absolutely right. Like we were barely getting to a point of understanding on how to use cloud, and now suddenly the AI revolution. Look, I mean, let's just take a step back. And I feel personally, I feel that in my 25 years of using technology to drive business results, I just have not seen anything as transformative as generative AI after internet. I mean, I
I would
remember my
agree to
own
that.
day. Exactly right. I mean, when everyone from a child to a senior executive can use the technology in their day-to-day lives, like we use Google search or we use internet, we know it will transform everything we do, right? Because it's not just about waiting for someone else to deliver that to us. We create these outcomes today in our personal lives. And I feel like when we started Clarista, right, we had this mission of, we used to say our thesis. That was the first slide. Our thesis was that we want to deliver real-time answers to every person in an organization. We scrapped that and we call it new reality. So our first slide is no longer our thesis, it's actually reality. And with Gen AI and AI, we have just leapfrogged our own expectations, right? So even people who were after that hunt have just leapfrogged. And what it's going to do to data architecture is, just if you think about the building components, it is clearly going to automate and help everything we do today, right? Every engineering aspect, whether you're doing data engineering, whether you're doing data science, and we enable that today, right? I think I have reached at a point where I'm giving a demo of Clarista. I don't have to touch the keyboard. I just speak, right? I'm writing code. I am seeing results. I'm exploring results. I'm asking questions, and that power just didn't exist, Pratik. Right now, we know that that is possible today. The question then becomes the same questions we were trying to tackle before. That you still need a good, solid foundational layer, right? And my look, is coming from an entrepreneur. It will sound like marketing, but just in general, where organization leaders will need a lot of help now is that you just can't build enough, right? That also means, like, in the constantly evolving, the landscape of data solutions, analytic solutions, whom do you partner with? And I think someone which can really bring all the discussion we are having here, like cloud out of the box, security out of the box, right? Complete transparency and trust, zero black boxes, fully understand the context in which you're operating, focus on your people enablement from day one, both on the technology side and business side. I mean, you have to really figure out those ecosystems. We did that with SaaS as software services. I believe with AI, it's not just software. I mean, there is a growing conversation here in the VC industry in US around how 140 of the unicorns in the software industry, right, have not grown beyond 10% since 2023. And we're talking about collective growth, and we're talking about unicorns, which is, at least $1 billion valuation. And that speaks to the significant shift away from the focus on just software and engineering to AI transforming the software and engineering, right? And I think unless we internalize these movements in our day-to-day life and how we are operating, and really not take a sequential journey, because if we do that, we should look back and say how well the sequential journey of on-prem to cloud has helped us, right? And I think number one thing which will come out of it is that we have learned a lot, right? I mean, clearly take that learning and say, let's not repeat the same pace. Let's find more creative ways to now leapfrog, right? And I think that's hard, but it's not like I see many options, right? No one is going to sit down and develop AI from scratch. So you are going to use this just the way we use this in our day-to-day life. The question is, how do you use it within the confinements and the check boxes we have to check within an enterprise? And I think that's not easy, but with the right partners, with the right talent, with the right engagement, more importantly, with the right business results from day one, you can get there. And I think it just presents itself as a tremendous opportunity. I feel equally tremendous responsibility, because it's not just an opportunity which you sit and wait on. I think businesses are transforming so fast using this technology. Look, there is a lot of chatter we hear, oh, POCs and people are just testing. Yeah, but that's how things start, right? I kind of always wonder when people say, oh, I hear a lot of, things just being tried. How do you think things come to life without trying, right? And I think I kind of feel like people who sit on the sideline waiting then have to accept that they will always be waiting to become the business leader as well. Look, which is fine, right? If you're happy to take the second and the third and the 10th position for someone to lead in your business sector, that's a choice one can make. I just feel that even if you decide to make those choices, replicating technologies and AI is not that easy. So I would say just start that now. Focus on where you can bring that difference, whether it's your sales process, your marketing, your operations productivity, your engineering productivity. There is so much to be gained here that, it just excites me tremendously, but I fully appreciate how hard this journey is going to be for enterprises.
Definitely. And I think had it been just AI, it's always difficult to actually put a case study in front of the board, in the boardroom, convincing the senior executives to invest in such kind of technology. But what amazing, which I've observed, is that suddenly the bubble of Gen AI has democratized AI. So now you need not start with the baseline. The baseline, I'm sure the enterprises and those senior folks are aware of. So there's something which is available on which they are just exploring new ventures. And definitely the potential to leverage AI and GenAI is tremendous. We are still unfolding various layers of it, and there's much more beneath that is yet to be explored.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think, look, one of the things about technologies like this is a really good sense of imagination as well, right? When the technology is this powerful to actually create things, not just automate or code or engineer things. Then, like I see going into social gatherings and someone would say, look, I was an artist and now, I'm submitting this artwork which I'm creating to generative AI, and look what I'm able to create. It fascinates me of what people are doing with this, right? So we are going in the enterprise setting on productivity side, but just the significant change in the way we will produce content, everything from write-ups to emails to artwork to videos, right? It is transformative, right? That's what we do to communicate what, as a business, what we do to our customers, everything from, products. And look, there is a lot of, right now, I get it, there's a lot of noise around every company becoming an AI company. That's, I get it, there is, a lot of hype and people get very confused around that. But once they truly understand, and which they will, right? Because if you're using something in your personal lives, it's not something someone needs to sell. You already know what it is. And I think if you can just figure out a way to replicate those capabilities from your personal life to the content and within an enterprise setting, you're going to leapfrog in so many aspects, right? I mean, everything from assisting people to find things, to communicate to your clients, to service your clients, to improve your products based on what's going on. I think it's just, for me, I see so many benefits lined up that somewhere the journey needs to begin. It's just a matter of, where people are in their thought process, what do they need to learn, how do they need to shape up these capabilities in an organization to take the first move.
Definitely. And as enterprises are navigating in this era of AI, they also understand that the basis data. Data is important, and without that, they cannot actually build and expand or explore anything on AI. So I think that responsibility on the chief data officers or say head of analytics are mounting. So how do you see those responsibilities on these people, the data officers and the analytics head? At a multi business and global organizations, how is it evolving for them?
Yeah, that's a great point. I was it's so far back in the history that I can't even remember the date, but I was one of the early chief data officers in the industry, quite young, became an MD leading these capabilities. But since then, if you look at all the transformation we have gone through around cloud and now AI, I mean, CDO and CXOs are going to play even a more important role in delivering on the promise of personalized and timely insights to their business. I mean, more global and complex the business is, more important the responsibility to manage and analyze its data becomes. Organizations still have, remember, like if now just the spread of what these people are thinking about and the responsibilities around that, so you have those hundreds and thousands of legacy systems. I mean, not everything is transitioned to cloud. There is an adoption of SaaS, there is an adoption of cloud, there is third parties and service providers, all that distributed data, right? And turning that into insights and using AI to do that, it's going to be hard, right? And in an increasingly digital economy where having timely information becomes a significant advantage, CDOs and CXOs are critical to lead the cloud and AI transformation, but with a very broad, in some way, the balance between a very broad perspective, but also very narrow incremental progress, right? If you approach everything from a broad perspective and make it a 5 year, from 0 to 1, then I don't know how long it will take to go from 1 to 100. So I think the balance, which is the complication here, is how do you deliver incremental progress and engagement while understanding that kind of the whole sea of what you're trying to manage here is hard. And look, this is no longer a role, right? This is a board priority. When something becomes a board priority, you need someone in the organization to carry that, mandate forward and to continuously show progress, both in terms of the control frameworks, which need to secure the organization, along with the innovation which needs to drive the organization forward. And I feel CDOs and CXOs are really strongly positioned to take these organizations forward in both aspects.
Okay. And as you say that they have to actually lead the organization. And as per your experience, how should these future ready technology leaders approach AI and Gen AI adoption, or in terms of solutions to enable or say foster a data driven enterprise within their environment?
Yeah, it's funny. Just let me give you an example of what to just kind of define what's going on in people's mind, right? So I was talking to a client, a very, prominent pharma company yesterday. And one of the question, and this is, a head of a therapeutical area, right? So it's not a technology person. And what she asked was, what's your experience in the world where we push things out, right? Someone built a report, send it out, to where people are just pulling and creating things on their own, right? And you can, in that question lies the discomfort of letting go of certain things without compromising with the safeguards an enterprise has put in place. uh, so I think the adoption and the way leaders need to drive it has to be able to answer that question. What is the right path? What is the right balance between what is a push, extremely controlled, very like kind of checks and balances, and how you are protecting everything but have a very tight control on things, to letting go of it, right? Nothing to do with the security and the control framework that still needs to be in place, but just this idea that someone needs to centrally create and produce things, to democratization of the creation, is a journey. And I was explaining to this leader how we are seeing clients materialize that. We still work with many clients, at least even in our firm, to first focus on engineering, security, right? How can we pick up the content first, deploy the right engineering methods, automate everything, give the transparency and the controls to give them the first milestone. Can you see what you have? Can you trust it? Is it secured, right? Once you get there, and how fast you get there, like we promise to deliver this thing within days and weeks, it's not months and years anymore. Once we get there, what we tell people are all the ways they can start to democratize. Do you want to have a Q&A experience on data? Do you want to have that in a dashboard? Do you want it in a report? So you start opening the doors first within the controlled environments and the frameworks you have created, and then slowly go to open-ended, right? Go to a search bar and speak to it. Talk as an engineer, just speak and automate your code, right? Now, once that is done, you still want all those checks and balances to be in place. Security needs to be applied, privacy controls needs to be applied, but it is extremely liberating on the user side to get there, right? So I think that question for me was very telling on this balance between how we have been operating with the risk, significant awareness around risk, and how, assuming that now we have put in the control frameworks to manage that risk, how do you create the layer of AI on top of the same control framework to really innovate, right? And then leapfrog everything. Then don't waste time on producing dashboards and reports and writing code over many, many months. Once you have that core foundation, then jump, right? And I think that for me is really how I would expect CTOs and CDOs to drive this going forward. And I think, look, once you become a C-level person in any role, everyone knows this, but people become your biggest focus. People in the sense of your business stakeholders and customers and clients, people in the sense of your employees, people in the sense of your partners. And I feel lot here, we are also, have to keep reminding ourselves on, there were case studies done when we were doing technology innovation, right? Like, hey, how do we train our old staff, which was doing Visual Basic and older technologies and writing, code in different technologies, to now become cloud ready? And that was a decade-long journey. And now you have to train people who are saying, okay, now you know the basics of how to operate on these core technologies, but now how do you become co-pilot enabled? How do you become AI enabled? How do you start to use these capabilities while ensuring the quality of what you were delivering. So I think there is definitely a people angle to that, both in terms of delivery, engagement, control, security, etc. But I always say to people, start somewhere, right? I mean, you're never going to learn by sitting and waiting. So the choices are always with every organization, the CTOs and CDOs. It's fortunate that we seeded that layer, starting with the control framework in the banks, right? It was mostly a regulatory imposition to do that, which turned out to be a really healthy thing to do globally today for every large organization. So the people are there to lead this. Now the question really comes down to towards what outcome, with whom, and when.
True. And it derives three P's, I would say, in my mind. One is people who have this product in their hand, and this product is giving them immense power. So it's like a triangle for them. And this power word reminds me of a statement which says that, with great power comes even greater responsibilities. So it's all about that how you're utilizing this powerful product in a very ethical and in a correct way, because the opportunities are immense. It's just the utilization and how you leverage it. As we observe this evolution of data architecture in the AI and GenAI era, the responsibilities of data leaders are also expanding, and their adoption strategies needs to be robust, adaptable, to stay competitive and not to miss the ethical perspective also. Thank you so much, Suvrat, for being with us today and sharing your insights on cloud strategies, the advancements, and the evolving role of technology leaders. These perspectives will certainly help organizations navigate the digital landscape very effectively.
Thank you for having me, Prateek. It was a great conversation. Really enjoyed chatting about these topics, and I think looking forward to sequence of these in the future.
Sure. And a special thanks to our viewers for tuning in with us today. Do watch out for our next episode for more such insightful discussions.